The young urchin's eyes were wide and panicked as he was led towards the captain's quarters. It was the agonized screams emitting from the door at the end of the passageway that gave him second thoughts. The cries echoing through the claustrophobic decks of the enormous black warship were heard by every member aboard the dead pool. As intended, the first mate, his face web of scars, rested an unsure hand on the boy's shoulder. They came to a halt before the door. The child winched as another tortured wail issued from within.
"Steady,"
said the first mate.
"The captain wants to hear what you got to say."
With that, he rapped sharply on the door. It was opened a moment later by a hulking brute with facial tattoos and a broad, curved blade strapped across his back. The boy didn't hear the words spoken between the two men. His gaze was locked on a heavy-set figure seated, with his back to him. He was a big man, the captain, and of middling years. His neck and shoulders were thick and bullish. His sleeves were rolled up, and his forearms slicked with blood. A red greatcoat hung from the peg nearby, along with his black tricorn.
"Gangplank,"
breathed the urchin, his voice thick with fear and awe.
"Captain, I figured you want to hear this,"
said the mate. Gangplank said nothing, nor did he turn, still intent as he was on his work. The scared sailor nudged the boy forward. He stumbled before he caught his footing and shuffled closer. The child approached the captain of the dead pool as he would the cliff's edge. His breath quickened as he caught full sight of the captain's work. Basins of bloody water sat upon Gangplank's desk, along with an array of knives, hooks, and gleaming surgical implements. A man laid upon the captain's workbench, bound tightly with leather straps. Only his head was free. He looked around in wild desperation, neck stretching, his face covered with sweat. The boy's gaze was inexorably drawn to the man's flared left leg. The urchin suddenly realized he couldn't remember what he came here to do. Gangplank turned from his work to stare at the visitor. His eyes were as cold and dead as sharks. He held a slender blade in one hand, delicately poised between his fingers, like a fine paintbrush.
"It's a dying art, Scrimshaw,"
said Gangplank, his attention returning to his work.
"Few have patience for carving bone these days. It takes time. See? Every cut has a purpose."
Somehow, the man was still alive, despite the ragged wound on his leg. The skin and flesh peeled back from his thigh bone. Transfixed with horror, the lad saw the intricate design the captain has carved upon that bone. Curling tentacles and waves. It was delicate work, beautiful even. That just made it even more terrible. Gangplank's living carcass sobbed.
"Please,"
he moaned. Gangplank ignored the pathetic plea and set down his knife. He splashed a cup of cheap whiskey over his heart, clearing off the blood. The man's scream threatened to rip his own throat out, until he slumped into a merciful unconsciousness, his eyes rolling back in his head. Gangplank grunts in disgust.
"Remember this, boy,"
Gangplank said.
"Sometimes, even those who are loyal forget their place. Sometimes, it is necessary to remind them. Real power's about how people see you. Look weak, even for a moment, and you're done."
The boy nodded, his face now drained of color.
"Wake him,"
Gangplank said, gesturing towards the unconscious crewman.
"The whole crew needs to hear his song."
As the ship's surgeon stepped forward, Gangplank swung his gaze back at the child.
"Now,"
he said,
"what did you want to tell me?"
A man,
said the boy, his words faltering.
A man at the Rat Town docks.
"Go on,"
Gangplank said.
He was trying not to be seen by the hooks, but I saw him.
Gangplank's muttering as he begins to lose interest. He turns back to his work.
Keep going, lad.
The first mate urged.
He was playing around with some fancy deck of cards. They glowed funny.
Gangplank stood from his chair, like a colossus rising from the depths.
Tell me where,
He said. The leather belt of his holster creaked in his tightening grip.
By the warehouse. The big ones near the sheds.
Gangplank's face flushed an angry shade of crimson as he pulled his great coat and claimed his hat from its peg. His eyes glinted red in the lamplight. The child was not alone, taking a weary step back.
Give this boy a silver serpent and a hot meal,
The captain ordered the first mate as he strode profoundly towards the cabin door.
and get everybody to the docks. We got work to do.
Hey, my name's Marquise Moore, aka Uncle Paws. I'd like to thank you guys for pushing me this far to finish the chapters. I couldn't have done it without you. Also, with the Build 20 event ending soon, I'm not sure if I should even touch the other 2 acts. If so, just leave a comment in the section below. Plus, if there's any other lores you want me to cover in League or any other video games for that matter, again, just leave a comment. And I'll check you guys later.